Hello and welcome to another edition of the LynnSanity podcast, a part of the Running Hook Podcast Network. And before listening to this podcast, I would hope that you listeners and viewers would like to give this particular podcast and Running Hook podcast, colleagues of mine, some 5-star ratings and some positive ratings to get ourselves going. What these ratings are able to do for us is it's able to help us grow as a network. And then it's also able to bring in more listeners. And obviously, we want to be able to create and cultivate a community that's full of those listeners that can come in and appreciate what the Running Hook has to offer. And we have plenty of stuff coming with the Divine Rhyme, the Basketball Power Hour with Alex Byrne, Dylan Hughes just finished up recording last week. So they are back and underway. We have podcasts with the Triple Option podcast. We have the Circle City Cinema. There's plenty of stuff to look forward to. Once again, just if you wouldn't mind doing that, I appreciate it. But real quick, let's get into the show. And something to note is obviously with the NFL and how Bryce and I typically do this, there will be some matchups that are not discussed into too great of detail. Those three matchups are, the Philadelphia and Atlanta game, the Denver and Giants game, and the Houston and Jacksonville game, in large part just due to the way that the games are played. We want to be able to give you legitimate content about these games. We don't just want to give you quick stuff on every game and then not really get to the juice. So our goal is to make sure that we will dive into all of these teams. We're not just going to not talk about Houston the entire year. We're not going to talk about what's going on in Atlanta or whatever the case might be. We'll make sure that our network will continue to talk about these teams. But for this week, that's what we're going to do. And Bryce, we're going to start off the show with a bang. We're going to get into the Get the Sack, which is basically the segment that everybody loves to see. Everybody loves to hear it. And Bryce, I'm going to have you start off. Who is your Get the Sack out of all of these matchups this week?
Who gets the special honor of being my week one Get the Sack candidate, Caleb? I think it's very clear. I think we have a clear number one here. It has to be the one, the only, defending AFC South champions, Tennessee Titans head coach, Mike Vrabel. Get the sack. Your performance against the Arizona Cardinals was pathetic. You go out and you trade for a guy in Julio Jones who's been an elite receiver for years. And then not only do you trade for him, and not only do you not get him involved in the offense, you even blame him for the loss. You blame it on the unsportsmanlike penalty, the 15-yarder that set them back on a third down. I got news for you, Mike. I don't think that's why you lost the game. You lost by a whopping 25 points. Kyler Murray carved up your defense for 289 yards passing and 4 passing touchdowns. I don't think Julio Jones is the problem here, Caleb. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they tried to make some upgrades on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the realm of pass rush. And that pass rush was very non-existent in this game. In fact, it was the complete opposite. The Cardinals have a better pass rush with Chandler Jones.
Wow. I mean, I don't know if I would have expected Vrabel to be dropped of the first week of the season for Get the Sack, considering where this team was. But it's fair. I mean, they were absolutely atrocious. I mean, it did not look good. This team focused on offense. What did they do? They only put up 13 points against a team that's really trying to remake the secondary. They're trying to do it on the fly. And, it didn't feel like any of their stars were able to get going. I mean, the stats would obviously tell you that, but just watching the flow of the game, Tennessee was not able to generate easy yards or easy plays down the field. That's uncharacteristic of their offense. If you watched them last year, Arthur Smith was able to continue to pound it to Derrick Henry and then be able to open up that play action. That did not happen. Ryan Tannehill did not get in play action enough. The Tennessee Titans offensive line looked horrible. They couldn't even get into play action if they wanted to. Totally agree with you, Bryce. And, I'm going to go with a guy that, I didn't even mention in the pre-show. I didn't even mention him, but I'm reading all this stuff and I'm sick and tired of it. Urban Meyer needs to get the sack. I mean, there is absolutely no excuse. There is no excuse in the way that you handled this performance. you are coming up against a Houston Texan team that just kicked your tail, and they have no business doing so. Give me a break with James Robinson only getting 5 carries. That's a joke. You're not setting up your quarterback. You're not putting your quarterback in position to succeed if he's throwing the ball 51 times. That's horrible. That's on play calling and an Urban Meyer, which Urban Meyer somehow, some way believes Carlos Hyde is better than James Robinson. Bryson, that's a joke too. I don't care that you're an Ohio State fan.
It's a joke.
I don't care.
You're right. No, you're right. Carlos Hyde had his time.
And, here's the other thing with this team, with particularly Jacksonville itself, right? I think this team looked lost on defense. They looked lost. Guys didn't even look like it was almost like the Houston Texans pulled out this creative playbook that the defensive players on the Jaguars have never seen before. They were frustrated, agitated. I don't understand how a team like this can do that to you. You know what David Culley's going to want to bring. It's a similar scheme to Baltimore. You know the plan. You may not have seen the players with Houston, but you know the plan. And for you to come out and get killed 27-7 at half is inexcusable. It's already putting you down the drain. And then for you to not be able to capitalize and make this game more competitive is a joke. That's a joke. And in my opinion, that's on Urban Meyer. If Urban Meyer is not in the right space to do the NFL coaching, as I keep seeing today, and I see that in jokes, but in all seriousness, like if he is not like totally in this because he's eyeing other jobs, you will get destroyed. And I don't care. I don't care what team. I don't care if it's Houston. I don't care if it's the Rams. I don't care. So pick up your slack.
That's totally
next
fair.
Up. The offensive player of the week for you, Bryce. This is a new segment for our show. We want to be able to just come out and just talk about who is highlighting, who is making plays, game-changing plays that kept our eyes on them, that got us thinking, man, he could be in for a great season. Bryce, who was yours?
Well, this guy that I'm choosing, it was incredible. It's like people forgot about him, and I don't understand it. Okay, the hype was real this offseason. I think Hard Knocks definitely played a large role in this as well. And yes, I'm talking about the Dallas Cowboys. And people just seem to forget that Amari Cooper is this stud of a wide receiver. I get that CeeDee Lamb is the young guy. He was the first round draft pick last season. Okay, he had a decent year, but he struggled with drops. And coming out into this game, this opening Thursday night game, CeeDee Lamb had the same issues. But you know who was out there this time, Caleb? Sure. Amari Cooper. Right. Maybe people forgot because he was injured most of last season, wasn't very productive, and was really battling that injury. But Caleb, he came out and was outstanding. People also forget.
I agree.
When Dak Prescott plays, Amari Cooper is his number one target.
Yep, absolutely.
It's statistically proven. You can look at it. And it proved it once again. Amari Cooper, 13 receptions, 139 yards, and 2 touchdowns to kick off this season against the defending champions, this Buccaneers defense that everyone seems to be so afraid of, which I'll have more to say about that later. Amari Cooper is a flat-out stud. He is going to be in for a big season. Dak Prescott is looking to prove something. Amari Cooper has quoted himself as being the best wide receiver in the game. He has not proved it yet, though. So he is on a mission to take over the number one wide receiver spot in the NFL, take it away from guys like Julio Jones, Devontae Adams, and so on and so forth.
I loved that choice. To back up your stuff, something I read today, I just thought it was great. It was on NFL.com. Amari Cooper is for the second time since he joined Dallas in the trade, had 10 receptions, 100 yards, and 2+ touchdowns. Now, this is the part I think that blows my mind. Think of all of the Dallas Cowboy receivers. No other player has ever had that type of game at wide receiver.
Wow, not even
that's nuts. Not even Des Bryant, not even Michael Irvin, not any legendary Cowboy receiver.
Wow.
Never had that. I mean, I agree with you, Bryce. He completely killed the Tampa secondary, and that's going to be something that we dig into more in our preview. And my offensive player, I just, it's more of a, hey, he is back type of thing. Okay. And that's Christian McCaffrey, man. He changes the game plan for the Carolina Panthers once he is healthy. And he is just somebody who put it, and made it clear. Like I'm still that guy. I can still put up 80 plus rushing yards, 80 plus receiving yards. I can do what I want to do against any matchup in the National Football League. He can do that. And I just think for the Carolina Panthers this season, it's just great to see him healthy. It's great to see him moving in a trajectory that makes this Carolina team, particularly Sam Darnold, a better quarterback. And Bryce, I'm really excited to dive into that game because I think there's going to be a lot of good insight for the people. Absolutely. And then who is your defensive player of the week?
Yeah, so I for me, this one was pretty obvious. I caught the end of this game, and he was just absolutely just pinning his ears back and just getting after the quarterback. I'm going to go with the man that just got paid, TJ Watt of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, yeah.
He was absolutely incredible. Let me read you these stats here, Caleb, against the Buffalo Bills and their good offensive line. TJ Watt had 3 total tackles. All three of them were solos, including 2 sacks and a tackle for loss. And then this is also what gets me here, Caleb. He had 5 quarterback hits, 5. By himself, not as a defensive line unit, by himself. Guys, TJ Watt is the real deal. JJ Watt is no longer the best Watt. It is TJ Watt, and it's not close. TJ Watt is outstanding. I don't see how you're going to block him. I mean, I think he's on an Aaron Donald level as far as how he can just wreck a game by himself, and was very influential. What do you mean no? What do you mean no?
Oh, okay. All right. Keep it going.
Oh, we're already starting this, guys. Oh, guys, we're in for a great season.
No, you're
disagreeing with me. This is going to be great. But this is a guy that you game plan for. Okay. But sometimes you can't game plan 100%. For him.
100%.
All right. And he was always there when Josh Allen was trying to lead the comeback for the Buffalo, but he was always there right on Josh Allen's tail. So my defensive player of the week, TJ Watt.
You're really lucky he didn't push you back on the Aaron Donald thing. I mean, I am going to let that go because we have a lot of stuff we want to get into. My defensive player of the week, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but I don't care. I mean, if you have 5 sacks, it's just unbelievable what Chandler Jones did. This is a reason why he should be paid. Going off of your point, Bryce, DJ Watt got the money. Right. But Chandler Jones has a legitimate case for the National Football Hall of Fame. OK, and he's trying to put up some legitimate numbers out here to give him a chance at it. 5 sacks ain't no joke. You come out of this looking good if you're a Chandler Jones type. You got JJ Watt on the other side of you. That means less game planning against you because you got other pass rushers that are going to help you out. For him to get 5 sacks and, Taylor Lewan, a legitimate offensive tackle who was obviously going through the injury. Well, he was busting with his boys back to Nashville feeling sad. That's what he was doing. He was busting with his boys and feeling sad. Okay, because you don't have this is ridiculous that 5 sacks go on you. That's ridiculous. You're a legitimate offensive tackle in this league, and the fact that you got trounced like that, I think that's something to say. Taylor Lewan, I think, could get the groove back, but 5 sacks, and you're on the field and you are that caliber. I can tell you for a fact, Taylor Lewan wouldn't want to give up 5 sacks to